And although fiction, this is a reality of many South Africans. So, of course, we had to bring in somebody that's somewhat an expert in the space. Cara bears Geduld. Now, she's a gender-based violence activist, a global ambassador for the Justice Desk Africa, as well as a content creator. And she's here to share some light on how to use social media to amplify awareness around GBV and also through kind of changing the lens and telling a positive story. So let's welcome her. Cara, thank you for being here.
Are you still so surprised that you're amazing? Or that everyone calls you amazing?
I'm surprised that I'm here because this is my first time
You're
on
here
a
amazingly
TV.
early.
Right?
No, I'm surprised that our paths haven't crossed as yet because we ply our trade in a purpose-driven space. And that begs the question, because you started out on an actuarial scientific lane. The way you're shaking your head says the choice was made before the degree was finished. I get that, but you've taken quite a dramatic turn. My experience, my secondary experience in this space makes me nervous to even ask this question. Why? Why has this become one of the pillars of who you represent and your impact in the world around you?
Honestly speaking, it started off with my life. So I feel as though my life led me in this direction, more so than me becoming this thing.
Yeah.
It was all a product of years and years of overcoming. And I feel as though being led in such a direction, with my own story being one of sexual assault and of overcoming, it's not just that night. It's a lead up. It's the years before. It's uncommon behavior before. So I will always say that I look back at who it is that I am and I try and figure out what it is that I could have done better.
Or seen, for that matter, just seen, because often it's not your fault. It is not your fault. It's the fact that you just weren't aware. You didn't know what you needed to know. So thank you so much for sharing, opening that lens, as difficult as it must be.
Absolutely. And speaking about sharing, I mean, you're definitely an advocate for this across your social media platforms, but it's the way in which you do it. It's all about perspective. And yes, we know that 1 in 5 women in this country fall victim to something like this. Femicide, the rates are insane across South Africa. But you take a different approach to sharing stories of GBV, and that's something about overcoming. So can you talk to me a bit about that?
I'd love to. So I think we are very inundated with the negative news, and many of us shy away from taking in that news. We constantly scrolling on our feeds and we see this person passed away, that person passed away. So what I've taken from it is I don't want us to miss half of the population because we are closing ourselves off to it. So how is it that you then still include others in this space by talking about it in an overcoming manner or prevention? So that's why when I share my story, I share the positives of it as well, because I think that also would have helped in my healing and then also in the prevention of it. So I think I also bring to the table someone that's very vulnerable on platforms that are widely shared. I feel my parents are very accepting of who it is that I am now today. I've opened up to them over the years about what it is, and then maybe here and there they found out about my negative behaviors over time, you know? So now it is something where I can comfortably share it publicly because who is there to be ashamed of?
There is no shame.
Well, it speaks to processing the trauma. And I think we're, unfortunately, a country that is built on a foundation of trauma. But we often miss that, and I use this term gateway all the time, because in this space, it is a choice of going this way or going that way. But if we don't know and we don't have the support of those around us, it becomes almost impossible for the individual to muster, as you have, the opportunity or the strength, the will, the fortitude to overcome. The support that you get from family and friends, what does that need to look like, and how important has that been for you?
Instrumental. It was the main factor that brought me to where I am today, was my community. Had I not had the support of my parents, my brother, in that season where I could not leave the house, I could not speak, I suffered very badly from the mental health impacts of it afterwards, so much so that it almost became one of psychosis.
For sure, yeah.
And it's hard to explain to people because how do you describe to someone what sleep deprivation looks like when you haven't slept for 2 weeks? How do you explain to someone what no eating? Because it was also in the time of Fees Must Fall, right? So it was very intense, and the process of healing required the whole household. It required my brother, who's the shyer person between the two of us, to step up and bring out his musical side. Yes, he would sing at the table. I have videos of all of these things, which is also so beautiful. And what I love capturing about these things is my brother singing to me and that healing element. I have my mother who would control my phone in that time, limit the exposure that I had to the outside world, because I think in that season of my life, platforms such as X, then Twitter, precisely, it was too detrimental to my health. And I'm grateful for that because I would not have seen healing without it.
Wow.
Can I just ask you, because this is quite an evolved level of compassion and emotional intelligence that is so often one of the biggest barriers to young women, especially seeking help or even them being recognized in that situation. What led to your family and those around you being able to do this for
Showing
you?
up like that, yeah.
We have a story of overcoming as a collective. My mother is also a survivor of sexual assault. It's her story to tell, but I can't share this comfortably because I know that she would want this to be told, right? So my mother's a survivor, and raising a daughter in South Africa is the scariest thing for one, particularly when you didn't do the healing yourself over time. So my mother would constantly get triggered throughout my upbringing. And that sort of element, today I understand it because my parents made an importance. My father would slowly but surely tell me as I was getting older, grade 10, this is why this is happening. Grade 11, this is why this is happening. Grade 12. And we dealt with that as a family, but I don't think we ever truly healed. When it happened to me, that was also the starting point where we could literally heal as a family. And that, I think, was so instrumental in my recovery, was them also being a part of that journey. It was scary to see.
Of course.
It was terrifying, I would imagine. Terrifying.
Oh, Cara, thank you for sharing so openly and generously your story and your family's story. I know that you've inspired so many people, but if you could leave them with just some lasting words, somebody that may be experiencing GBV, man and woman alike, what would you say?
I would say that you have power in your own story. You have agency over your entire life. So what is it that you can do, and how is it that you can take whatever negative experience has happened to you and use it as ammunition to find your life purpose? Because many a times these things that we are going through, they act as agents for purpose.
For sure.
They act as agents for purpose, because I would have never thought that I would leave actuarial science, something that was a surefire thing, you know? Step into the space not knowing what on earth would come next. Literally just running around campus trying to get in because I didn't meet any of the requirements. How do you get into a social studies honors program if you haven't, you know?
Touched it.
Precisely. So stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself, and step on those doors, knock on those doors where you can. But I'd also say that lead with love, lead with intention, and know that you can always bring kindness into the world. And when you bring that kindness into the world, you tend to see kindness come back to you.
I love that. It feels like in a space where there should be no choices, you have created such a powerful playbook, an arsenal of positive weapons that you can use, you can practice every day. I absolutely love you to bits. Please, please come back to this platform whenever you need to have it amplified, your voice, because I think it's a very powerful voice, not just during Women's Month. This needs to be kind of a foundation shift, a paradigm shift. But thank you for representing what you do, despite how unbelievably difficult it must have been to get to this point to open up like this. See, now do you understand how amazing you are? Probably not yet. But she's getting it, man. She'll get it by the end of the day. She will understand. I think most importantly, from our perspective, from our understanding of the space, if you have just that feeling right now in you that it says something is not right, if there is a voice inside you saying something is out of balance, out of whack, nothing has happened yet, but that feeling is there, don't shut it down. Listen and talk to someone. Please, please, whether it's phoning a helpline, talk to someone.